Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carter. I love talking about movies, horror movies, superheroes, and comic books. Speaking of superheroes, I am a big fan of the TV show The Boys. I've read a little bit of the comic books and honestly, I detest them. I really do not like a lot of that source material. I think what Amazon did with the first 3 seasons of The Boys was really something special because they created something that was, in my opinion, miles better than the source material, that it was actually interesting, engaging, funny, yet still had that bite and that edge, but without being overboard. And then season 4 happened, and I love the show. I'll get that right out of the way first. It's one of my favorite shows to just turn on and rewatch. It's endlessly entertaining for me. Very easy to get invested in the characters. The first 3 seasons are really, really funny. It always makes me laugh. It always makes me like go, wow, that's an insane amount of effects, or that's really gross, or that's really cool with what they do with the powers that the superheroes have. And then season 4 happened. Season 4 has been something of a mixed bag for me. A few weeks ago, I uploaded a video about my issues with The Boys Season 4. If you want to hear my thoughts on the first 3 episodes, I'll put a little screen up so you can click on it. So when I'm making this video right now, it is July 4th, so episode 6 dropped today at 1 a.m. I stayed up and watched it, and while I was a little mixed on episodes like 1, 2, and 3, I enjoyed a lot of them. I think there's things that really work there, things I really enjoyed. Like Sister Sage is someone that's so interesting, and how they flip A-Train to be on their side, yet he's a little cautious. That could be in episode 4, I kind of mix them up. But there was things that I liked, and there was things that I disliked. And the things that I disliked was I don't think it's as funny or as sharp this season. What worked before was a lot of the less subtle political commentary. I don't know if I can call it subtle, but like jokes about superheroes, or about political commentary, or about superhero fans, or like movie fans, I always found to be pretty funny and pretty well balanced, to where they joked about it and they moved on. It wasn't a massive focus unless it had to do with an episode, and even then, they did a great job of balancing character and criticism of real world. And the 4th season, I feel like they just haven't done that. In the 4th season, they have constantly put character and plot to take a backseat to what the writers want to let you know. And the writers want to let you know what they think about America, what they think about politics. And I'm someone who really does not care about politics. If someone can make a movie that deals with politics, or a show that deals with politics in an interesting and meaningful or funny way, that's great, that's fine. You can poke fun at whoever you like. But The Boys has ceased to do that. And I know there's going to be some people, maybe even some people I'm friends with, that disagree with me on that. For me, it's become an issue. We're in season 4. The next season is going to be the last season. And as funny as some of the political jokes can be, I'm just more interested in seeing how this conflict between Butcher and Homelander is going to be built up. I say that because, unfortunately for me, episode 6 was more of the same. I'm going to talk about episode 6, so spoilers ahead. I'll try to not spoil a ton of stuff, and then I'll slowly dive into more spoilers as the video goes on. I'll put a mark though, I'll let everyone know to click off if you haven't seen the episode yet. I would recommend watching it before this video because I'd hate to be that person that spoils something for you. I've spoiled already some of the plot points in season 4. I'll spoil the entirety of season 4 up to this point. Episode 6 comes hot off the heels of my 2 favorite episodes this entire season, episode 4 and episode 5. I think both of those episodes did a great job of showing us what we love about The Boys. Episode 4 had a lot of great Homelander stuff, some good Huey and A-Train stuff that I really enjoyed, and then with episode 5 we got a lot of great stuff with Hugh Sr. and Huey and the Campbell family. That was great. And the farm was kind of funny. I do feel like the writing took a little bit of a backseat to the comedy and like shock effect of the farm. While I did enjoy parts of it, I feel like the tone of the episode didn't really match overall. However, that being said, I still think it's one of my favorite episodes this season, just because I really don't care for a lot of stuff in that first 3 episodes. And now getting into episode 6. This episode, and I'll spoil lightly, this episode follows the boys as they infiltrate Tech Knight's party. If you've seen Gen V, you remember Tech Knight. He was one of the most memorable characters on that show. He was really, really funny, like very darkly funny. He was, of course, a terrible person because he's one of the soups that's aligned with Vought and the Seven. And so you have that going on, and then you have Butcher and Kessler's storyline going on. And I'll get right into the positives of this episode, what I liked about this episode. There were some jokes here that I found to be pretty funny. I thought some of Tech Knight's lines were pretty funny. I thought that the whole allure of the mansion was very interesting. There's a scene with A-Train and MM that's one of my favorite scenes in the entire series now. Very pivotal for A-Train's arc, and I loved it. It's easily one of the best scenes in this entire season, let alone the series. Not because of the tension that you're feeling, wondering what's going to happen, but because of how you feel for A-Train and his character arc. It's incredible how they are making you feel for A-Train, and I don't want to say much more, but I adored that part of the episode. Amazing writing. Keeping up with the positives, I still really enjoy Sister Sage. I think she is a very interesting villain because so much of what the boys face is physical. It's awesome to see them face like a mental challenge, someone who's much smarter than they are. It's awesome to see her deal with Homelander and Homelander deal with her and how they can disagree, and her relationship with Firecracker. I think it's really interesting to see all of those characters interact. I enjoyed seeing Newman pop up in this episode and how they're kind of building her up quite a bit in this season. I'm interested to see where they go with that. I liked her interactions with Homelander, Sage. Kimiko continues to be the most valuable asset of the boys. I love her. She's always great in the show. Karen Fukuhara is an incredible performer, and she just gives it her all every time. And I think that all the performances here are pretty solid. Of course, The Boys is always very solid with the performances. Anthony Starr is great as Homelander. Carl Urban's great as Butcher. I'm having a great time with Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Kessler. And however, a lot of this episode was mixed. So for every positive that I have a few mixed and negatives, unfortunately. And this is where I'll start to get into some spoilers. A lot of this tension was just gone from this episode. I didn't feel scared for Huey. I didn't feel worried. I didn't feel nervous at all when he was in the party, even with Homelander there, because I don't know what they're doing with Homelander's powers, but it makes it so like the boys can get right next to him and they're fine. Like, he can be right next to the boys and be fine and be like, I can smell Hugh Campbell on you. And now he's, like, right next to Huey, and the comms are going off, and his super hearing. Like, he's listening to other stuff, I get it. But sometimes there's a little line that they have to tread to where it's plausible and not. And I feel like they're starting to dip into the implausibility of the season, which sucks because I really don't want to be that guy that's harping on it, but I am that guy that's harping on it. And so sometimes I just feel like the tension is gone. We're supposed to be getting into the last 2 episodes of the season, and I'm not really worried or nervous or like anxious to see the next episode. I mean, of course I'm going to watch it because I think the show is still good, but I'm just not super invested. Like I said in my last video about The Boys, they're still focusing on political commentary and jokes and shock value over everything else. And I know I have to say this, it sucks that I have to say this, but again, as someone who doesn't really care about politics at all, political commentary can be hilarious, very moving, very powerful when it's done correctly. Here in The Boys, in my opinion, it's no longer meaningful, it's no longer powerful, it's no longer impactful, it's no longer funny, it's just redundant, and it honestly just kind of feels like they're beating a dead horse that has been beaten a million times before. And it's getting to the point where I'm thinking, okay, we're in season 4, the last part of season 4. I know what they're trying to do with the political commentary. Obviously, it's very, if you look around in the real world or look at anyone's criticism of America, you'll see what's going on. You'll see what they're going for, which I can understand and admire, but not, it's like this late in the game, dude. Like, you need to start ramping up the tension, and it's not tense for me when Homelander and Sage's big plan is something that's pretty obvious, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is, I mean, I could have guessed that from the start. Like, finally they're starting to do something to overthrow Vought when it's been like 4 seasons of them. Oh no, Vought. I gotta act on Vought Plus, dude. Oh. And so, for me as a fan, I'm just kind of getting burnt out, if you can't tell. And it sucks. I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, political commentary ruined The Boys. Politics ruined The Boys. It's always been very politically charged. It's always been political. It's always had something to say. But even just contrast anything that they've done this season, like the riots in episode 1, with the incredible cold open of season 2 that has the white dude go and kill the guy at the gas station because he thinks he's a government or a soup terrorist. just contrast that incredibly impactful, like 2 to 3 minute storytelling with jokes, the lame jokes, the incredibly redundant just point and say a word to someone, like, these woke transgenders running the news, right? Am I right? It's like, dude, I know what you're going for, and it's just not working. It's falling flat on its face. And that's something that's just continuing to bother me. Anyways, rant about that over. My biggest issue is, again, it's not building up. It doesn't feel like it's building to anything. You can see the blocks that they're placing. And this is where I'm going to start to get into full spoilers. So I'm going to spoil the episode from here on out. 3, 2, 1. So Homelander's big plan is to do a soup army, like he mentioned in the last episode, and to use Tech Knight's prisons as internment camps. Okay, I mean, I see where they're going. Very interesting. It should be something that's like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Like, that's horrid. How are we going to stop that? But it's not, because everyone in The Boys has the worst plot armor I've ever seen. I feel like at the end of the season, there's going to be one character dead, and it's going to be Sister Sage, Newman, or Firecracker. It's going to be one of those three, because they're the three villains that have been introduced in the last season or this season and are being built up, and they do this every season. And instead of killing somebody meaningful, they just kill the same person. They kill like the same trope. It follows the pattern. None of the boys are gonna die. I wish that Frenchie would die, because it kind of seems obvious that he's the one that's gonna bite it this season, but I don't see them killing him anytime soon. I mean, maybe they can do some permanent damage to Kamiko or to Starlight. They already are doing permanent damage to Starlight. She can't even use her powers anymore. So it feels like they're just shortchanging Starlight. They're not giving her any interesting or cool scenes. Erin Moriarty is a good actress. She does her job well, but it's like, okay, every time she goes up against a threat, she's gonna light her hands up, and then they fail, and she's like, oh man. And that's it. Dude, copy paste. It seems like I've been extremely negative. There was good things about this episode. Like what I was talking about with A-Train, that scene, everything with A-Train this season has been phenomenal. Easily the most engaging and interesting storyline this whole season. Probably better than Homelander's storyline, and Homelander's is usually the best. But easily so engaging. I'm very bought into what they're doing with A-Train. Jesse T. Usher is incredible. He's such a douche, but he's so likable now. Like, he's really becoming sympathetic now, trying to like make amends with his family, trying to make amends with Huey. I think it's so interesting, so engaging, and it really just sucks me in as a viewer, and I love what they're doing with that. So as negative as I have been in this video on a lot of different things, what they're doing with A-Train is so cool, and I really hope they don't kill him this season. He needs more time to breathe. He needs more time to develop and become a member of the boys, because the boys at this point, despite their incredible plot armor, are screwed the second they go against Homelander or a soup that's not like a B-list soup. And finally, last thing that I'll just touch on was there was that big twist reveal with Butcher and Kessler that I think everybody saw coming a mile away from like maybe the first or second episode Kessler was in. Since episode 3, it's been very obvious. My friend Gage was like, yeah, he's not real. And I was like, what? Maybe. And then another episode went by, I was like, yeah, he's not real. And yeah, he wasn't real. That was okay. I like what they did with having him talk to Becca. That was interesting, having these like two parts of his mind talk to each other, communicate. And I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan is phenomenal as always, but that plot isn't just working for me that much, and so I'm kind of interested, worried to see where it's gonna go from here. So I actually ended the video, forgot to say one thing. Another thing that's starting to grate on my nerves is just the amount of shock and disgust value that they put into this show. And especially with Huey this episode. It rubbed me the wrong way. It didn't make me feel nervous. It didn't make me laugh. It just made me disgusted. It made me uncomfortable for him. And yeah, I know they'll probably be like, yeah, that's what we're going for. And I know, because it's not funny in the context they were going for. Like, it's so painfully unfunny that it had to be, like, making you uncomfortable. But even that, I feel like it's just a little mean. It's a little, like, too mean-spirited for the show to do that to Huey right after his dad died. Like, his dad died, and then he gets assaulted by Tech Knight and Ashley. And it's not interesting. It's not funny. And they're trying to push the boundaries of what they can do and say on television and what they can show and how disgusting they can get. They do this every season, like, dude, we're filming the most vile thing ever. How about you try and get us hyped up on what A-Train or Homelander or the boys are gonna do this season? Like, oh, the conflict is building up, guys. We're really excited to see where it's going to go from here. Homelander is going to snap, and we're going to see just the full destructive power of Homelander, and the boys are going to have to rise up to fight it. Just something like that. Obviously, it's a little too spoilerific, but something like that would get me more immensely hyped than, yeah, dude, like, we just filmed the grossest thing this season.
This is Ultra-Lord!
Sheen, this is the 7th week in a row you've shown Ultra-Lord in class!
I mean, as negative as I've been in this video, I still enjoy the season. I still enjoy it because it's the boys, because it has made me care about characters like Butcher, Homelander, Huey, A-Train, MM, Annie, Kimiko, Frenchie, all those great characters that you know and love and you're interested and engaged in. It keeps doubling down on that, and luckily the show hasn't lost sight of what makes it so good, the characters. Because you can do a show about superheroes, it's like, oh, look at this, he shoots webs above his butthole, ha 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 ha, that's funny. It was kind of funny, but then they kind of overplayed it, I think, just with like showing it and the farting noises. I was like, this is not funny at all, this is really stupid. It's hard, dude, because I love this show so much. First 3 seasons, honestly, I have seen them a dozen times. I will turn them on if I'm like working or if I'm editing a video. I'll just turn it on because I think it's hilarious. I can laugh at it. If there's a really great action sequence or something really engaging, I can look at it for a couple minutes. It's something that I've watched. I mean, I watched all 3 seasons in like 2 weeks, just last month to prepare. And now with season 4, just the same issues that I've had as my other video that I made with them putting political commentary and shock value above character and story, not ramping up the tension enough since it is the second to last season and things are gonna get crazy. People need to start dying, or conflicts need to start happening in a way that are meaningful. I just feel like the tension isn't all there. The humor isn't quite as sharp or as funny as it used to be, and the story beats that they're hitting just aren't that meaningful, I think, outside of a few, or aren't that surprising as they think they are, or engaging. So unfortunately, episode 6 was another mixed bag for me. Episode 4 and episode 5 I still prefer. Anyways, guys, that was my total thoughts of The Boys so far, 6 episodes in. As you can tell, this is a show that I really love making because I've made a few videos on it. I have a bunch of shorts on it on my channel. This and Invincible have easily become like 2 of my favorite things to talk about this year, especially here on YouTube, because people seem to be really engaged and it's so much fun to just kind of share opinions and talk to people about it. So let me know what you think about The Boys season 4 so far. Have you seen episode 6? What did you think about it? Do you think my criticisms are valid? Do you think I'm too harsh, not harsh enough? I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear your opinion, so let me know down in the comment section below. As always, guys, happy 4th of July, and have a great rest of your day.